Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. Good evening, Hannah.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. What? Are you hearing me okay?
I'm fine. It's just my messages from work just went off. That's kind of been the
Oh,
theme of the evening. It's just notifications going off.
yeah. Nah, just silence them right now because we're doing a show. And
Yes.
thanks everybody for joining us. It is episode 424 here on in the last day of January. We're about to get into February. Unbelievable how fast already this year is going.
Yes.
But thank you for joining us. Thank you again to our patrons. We appreciate your support. We actually had a couple of them on our commentary last night that we did for episode 1, which we'll talk about here in a little while. We started that off, so we'll get into that. But of course, first off, we'll just pop in some of the news that's going around in Star Wars. Not much going on. Obviously, the big news last week we already talked about, which is the trailer for the Bad Batch season 3, which coming out starting February 21st with 3 episodes, which is going to be incredible. Is that I didn't even look. Is that a Wednesday or a Friday? Is that a Wednesday?
That I think that's a
It's
21st is a Wednesday.
it's a Wednesday. Okay.
So is it midnight Wednesday or 9 p.m. Pacific Wednesday?
So, well, that would mean midnight here, right?
Right, that would be midnight here. Midnight Wednesday. I meant Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, midnight.
Yes, it would be Wednesday morning midnight. That's if they start the trend again, right? As I think Ahsoka, they came out with midnight. They started doing midnight.
Yeah, Tuesday midnight, Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning, yes.
Okay. All right, well that's awesome.
So hopefully, if they do that, I'll watch them Wednesday night. And then, remind me, what were we doing reaction videos the next night? Is that what we were doing?
I thought we were doing reaction videos like right after we watched it, and then we talk about it on.
So was it coming out earlier? Was it coming out? It was coming out earlier.
I can't remember. I feel like
I believe it was dropping at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Was it 9 p.m. Eastern?
Yes, I think because sometimes I would watch it. You would watch it a little later, but I think we were doing reaction videos right that evening.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure. Actually, I gotta talk to my daughter, but I feel like the Ahsoka was dropping at 9 o'clock on Wednesday nights, and I was watching them, and then you were watching them a little bit later. But yeah, we were doing reactions on them. So
okay.
I think that's right. I think they started moving it because I remember thinking like, this is how you do it. If you want everybody to watch it right when it comes out, you can't put it out 3 a.m. on the East Coast,
right?
Which would be midnight, West Coast. So I think they were doing 9 and 6.
I swear, the whole pandemic has made time this soup, and it's just like it doesn't exist. So I believe you. I just don't remember it. I believe you.
Well, and it's been a while. I mean, Ahsoka was late summer last year, right? I mean, it's like August, September, October, and I do remember them. I do remember seeing that sooner, like because if it came out in the middle of the night, I wouldn't watch it till the morning usually with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And I remember with Ahsoka, we didn't have to do that. We watched it that night, and I know she wouldn't have been able to watch it because she had school the next day if it was at midnight. So it had to have been earlier. So okay. I'm with you. My mind is scrambled right now too about that kind of stuff. I don't even remember what I did last week, let alone 6 months ago. But yeah, that's I think hopefully they do that trend, right? If they release it at 9 p.m., then yes, I'll be able to knock out all 3 episodes. And if we've got time, we'll do some reaction videos for our patrons.
Absolutely.
yeah, it's going to be fun. So, but 3 episodes. I mean, these aren't going to be. I feel like they're going to be the same trend where they're only like 20, 25, 24 minutes or so. An episode.
Watch it
I'm assuming they're.
as soon as you say that, they're each going to be an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Well, I would welcome it. Trust me. But I think this 3 episode one obviously is probably a big story arc, so that's why they're releasing all 3 of them to kick this thing off. I just hope we don't have any, which you're bound to. I just hope we don't have too many throwaway episodes, that are in this final season. 15 episodes, let's keep them all relevant and go out with a bang, this last season. So,
yep, completely agree.
Yeah. And of course, the big thing on the trailer was the apparent return of Asajj Ventress. I think we both kind of talked ad nauseum about our love for the character, and I am still leaning towards, and truly based on what you said, I'm leaning towards that part of it may be a flashback.
Yeah.
Because I thought about it even more, Hannah, and the way that they kept saying, we are honoring the story that was in Dark Disciple, like that is canon. So I think for me, the way they're saying we're honoring it is that no, she died, like she died, but there's still stories to tell of her, and like they're always doing right now, they're going backwards. So I think I'm leaning that towards that for sure.
I agree. The more and more I thought about it, the more and more I was like, yeah, it's a flashback. Because do we know for a fact if Voss survived or not?
Quinlan Voss survived. Oh yeah. Remember he's etched on the wall on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's what I thought. So I mean, maybe the Bad Batch runs into him.
Oh yeah, Quinlan Voss animated Quinlan Voss back in this. Yes, that's very true.
Because the thing is, we have seen him in Clone Wars, but we only saw him in like 1 or 2 episodes, so he's not going to be that recognizable of a character like Asajj is. So it could be what it is they run into him. We get flashbacks from him of Asajj for some reason, and then that prompts Tales of the Jedi, and we actually get their story that we see in Dark Disciple and Tales of the Jedi.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's possible. I think that Tales of the Jedi is going to possibly tell some stories with Asajj for sure. I think that is definitely possible. Now, did you go back and look at the Quinlan Voss?
I did.
Cameo in episode 1?
I was like,
Yeah, that's him. So it's pretty neat that they I mean, that wasn't the intent, obviously, when it was shot, but that they have confirmed though that is a Quinlan Voss sitting there. They even have like whatever mission he's doing on Tatooine at the time, but
that's insane.
Quinlan Voss in episode 1.
It's like that one person in Return of the Jedi. They said, "Yep, that's Rex."
Yes. And see, that was supposed to be intended for, I think it was, what was that? I think there was an episode in Rebels, maybe, or something, that I saw some art of it that Filoni had drawn out, and Rex in Rebels was like wearing, or it kind of looked like that, and that was supposed to confirm that was actually him in Return of the Jedi, but I don't know if they've actually fully done that yet, but that would be pretty neat if it was. That would be pretty neat. Yeah. Okay, so a little bit of the news. There was, first off, there's an announcement of a new comic series that's coming out we actually mentioned this a little bit on our commentary yesterday, but Mace Windu is getting a comic series.
Ooh.
So, earlier this month, we got the announcement that there's a novel called The Glass Abyss with Mace Windu. We've got a comic coming out with Mace. There's a lot of Mace Windu all of a sudden coming out.
Why?
I don't know. Is it possible we're going to get a return? Samuel Jackson coming back for something?
I mean, we never saw his body.
You never saw his body. Yeah, I know. I mean, if Boba Fett can come out of a Sarlacc and survive,
And if Asajj Ventress can rise from the dead,
oh, that's true too. That is true too. Darth Maul can get cut in half and survive.
and if Palpatine can survive all these years after being exploded into bits,
Very true. Yes, very true.
anything's
That Mace
possible.
Windu can survive a fall out of a window.
I actually, you know what? It would be very, very cool because he doesn't have either of his hands because Anakin cut off his hands, both of them.
I think he has one though. I think he only cut off one arm.
I thought it was both. Was it only
Nah,
one?
I think it's only the one arm, his right arm that he was coming down with.
Oh,
That
okay.
got his arm cut off.
But
So
now
he's
I
a
want
one-armed Mace Windu.
No, man. Oh well, never mind. I had a cool idea, but now it's mute. So,
I think honestly, I would. You know what would be? Here's how I would do it. I'm just gonna throw this
all
out
right,
there.
go.
I love. I'm trying to think of an example. Well, one of the clear examples. I don't know how into the Karate Kid you were, the movie, the original movie.
I mean, like, I wasn't obsessed with it, but I liked it.
Okay. Well, you may understand this, but so when when sequels happen, movie sequels, usually there's obviously a time gap, and we check back in, a year later, a month later, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes they're real time. Like if it takes a movie 2 years to come out, it's usually like 2 years later in the movie. Well, what I thought was very cool, and this is I remember this being one of the first times I witnessed this in a movie, but the Karate Kid, ended with Daniel winning the tournament, and he's getting held up and with his trophy and all that stuff. Well, when Karate Kid 2 came out, which was a couple years later, the movie picks up the beginning of the movie picks up right at the end of that tournament, literally the next scene.
Yes.
He's like in the shower and he's cleaning up, and then they go outside and have that altercation outside. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's actually pretty impressive, because it takes time for them to shoot the movie, and a couple years later people aged, but they picked up right after. And I thought that was really another example is, this is kind of where I'm getting at, is Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and then Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Man of Steel had that whole thing with Metropolis, that battle. And then in Batman and Superman, the very beginning was the perspective of Bruce Wayne during that battle of Metropolis. And I loved how they reshot that, and that, you're seeing everything exactly how it happened. So that's how I would do Mace Windu's return, is I would do a shot of like some spectator outside of the Senate building or his office, whatever it is. And you see, like, you remember when they hit the lightsabers, hit the glass and it shatters, and all of a sudden you see that from the outside. And then someone's looking up like, what's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden there's this lightning up there, and then you see Mace Windu flying out. And obviously from there you follow how he lands, and you pick up right there from there, and you tell us a story of where he went and how he survived the rest of Order 66.
You could even do it with somebody who, because they witnessed that, they know that the Jedi weren't necessarily trying to overthrow the Chancellor. So this person basically picks up Mace, who fell out off the ground, and
Yes.
nurses him back to health.
Perfect. Exactly.
So he
Yes.
sleeps through the whole Order 60, or he doesn't sleep, but he's unconscious through the whole Order 66.
This person hides him. Yes.
And so when he wakes up, the person's like, "Hey, so, sorry, dude. I think you're the last Jedi."
Yes. That is actually really pretty brilliant. And so, yeah, I think somehow you can easily make that character relevant in the sense that, their backstory is that they were somehow saved by the Jedi or something like that. So they felt this obligation to help Mace because they know that they are good people. That's how they have that backstory. They never believe the propaganda, and all this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's a Jedi. It's my obligation to help Jedi because that's what they do. They help us, and eventually you can go into some backstory about who they were. But
What if Mace and this other person end up being like the seed of the rebellion?
wow, yeah.
Like,
The rebellion's kind of, they can be definitely a contributor to it. It's already kind of being laid out
but it
right
could
by Bail,
But could you imagine a scene where Bail Organa feels like he's lost all hope? He's like there's nothing we can do. We can fight, but it's worthless. Blah blah blah. He walks into his office, and all of a sudden, there's Mace with the hood over his head,
yeah.
and he's like, "Well," and Mace is like, "We're not done. I don't think you can curse because it's Star Wars, but you know what I'm going to say because it's Samuel L. Jackson."
Yeah. Totally. No, I like that a lot. That is,
Oh man.
and there is a 0% chance that Samuel Jackson wouldn't do that.
No, he totally would.
He would be all over that. So, man.
Oh man, I now want this.
Why aren't they hiring us to make TV shows for them? I don't know.
I also have to say, like, hey, Star Wars, you need 2 writers.
That's right.
We got some ideas.
We do got some ideas. So, yeah. Yeah. So Mace Windu is getting his own comic. That's how this whole thing kind of started. Yeah, is coming out February.
Watch the comic be the exact story that you and I just said.
Right. I know, right? But technically, this does take place before the Clone Wars and the rise of the Separatists and all that stuff. So,
never mind.
I think it looks like it might be a little bit. There's some shots of him being a little younger in this too, so it could be some backstory, and I'll be interested in that. I want to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, arrives February. It looks like the issue number 1 drops February 7th. So next week, actually.
Wow.
Yep. So go check that out. They have a interview. There's an interview floating around with Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
And this is because of, I don't know what he's promoting necessarily, but they talked about him, being a part of Star Wars, and that this year is the 25th anniversary of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace this May. And, they asked him about, what it feels like to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, and how did you feel back then playing a young version of him? And he admitted that he was, quote, very reluctant to play young Obi-Wan Kenobi. He says, it wasn't a done deal for me. I didn't think it was at all who I was. I believed at that point I was a Danny Boyle actor. Now, if everybody knows Danny Boyle, he's a director that Ewan McGregor had done a lot of movies with, Trainspotting and things like that. He said, the beach was more important, and I meant it. I wasn't flippant. I did ask a lot of people for advice. And he says, I'm happy that I'm this character for a lot of people, but when these films came out, they were so disliked.
Mm.
and that was hard. He admits that the first one was panned, and we still had to make another two, and it was weird to be in a film that got hammered.
Mm.
So, and then he went on and got asked about the Disney Plus Obi-Wan series, and he said, "I would love to do a second season, but there's no talk of it yet. There's a lot going on at Disney." So, yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this before. It's like, with Hayden, well, not Hayden at this point, but like Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best and, the CG and stuff like that. It was just, there were just a lot of criticism. And I remember, living back then, watching these movies come out. I remember that I rarely heard criticisms of Obi-Wan Kenobi or Padme. And that's kind of a testament to, obviously, the actors that are playing them, because they were great performances, and of course I thought Hayden did fine, and obviously Ian McDermott is who he is, but there were a lot of other people that obviously got hammered, and the movie got hammered, and I think that's what he's referring to, because no one was really dissing Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't feel like. Do you think that? Do you think that?
I mean, I saw the movie a lot later, but yeah, I think it's just the whole idea, though, that because when you're a part, and we're in the business, we know this, when you're a part of a project and you invest so much into it, no matter what part you play, no matter if you're in front of the camera, behind the camera, whatever it is, you've dedicated a good chunk of your life towards this project. And then to see people like crap all over it, it's
Yeah,
heartbreaking. It doesn't matter if they didn't say anything negative about you personally. You still feel like I've invested so much into this. And like I hate to say this, but that is part of the business. Now,
it is.
do I think it was rightfully done? I mean, I think some parts of the movies, yeah, were like, okay, that's a little weird, or don't know why they chose to do that. But in general, I mean, I think the thing is people don't understand that that's art. That's someone's art, piece of art. And
Yes.
you are absolutely allowed to have your own opinion. If it doesn't work for you, that's 1,000,000% okay. Art isn't supposed to work for everybody. But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you get to just rip it to shreds in a malicious way for no good reason. Yes,
Yeah.
you can break it apart and say this is why it didn't work for me, this is why it did work for me. But that doesn't mean you start like sending people death threats over
Mm-hmm.
it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
come on. It's art. Not all art speaks to all people. And that's okay. And I just wonder if unfortunately fans were just like, oh, this isn't like Star Wars. Well, you don't get to determine what's like Star Wars. The creator gets to determine what's like Star Wars.
Right.
So I just find the whole thing ridiculous. I really, really do. It's okay to say, I didn't like the movie or that was a bad movie. Okay, sure. Didn't work for you. But don't tell people you absolutely should not watch this movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't tell actors you did a horrific job. Like, come on.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I mean, like, Daisy was saying in a couple of interviews that she was suffering anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because of the movies for the same thing. And it's like, is Rey my favorite character? No, she's not. But I'm not saying Daisy Ridley didn't do a great job. She's a
Yeah.
fantastic actress.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I'll get off. I'll get off my soapbox right now.
No, that's exactly right. I think, Ewan has nothing to feel bad about. And, the thing about it is I hope he feels just like Hayden does. I hope he feels the love of the prequels now, because, a lot of people have come around, and the people that were young, like yourself, that saw it, are now older, and I feel like your generation is almost the ones that have brought the sequels back to life. And a lot of that has to do with, I believe, Filoni too, with the way the Clone Wars was produced. And, that, because that brought a lot of people into that world, that timeline, and then it kind of made sense to go back and watch the movies and watch them with a different perspective because of the Clone Wars. And again, Hayden, coming back and feeling the love that he has because of, again, generation like you that has now loved his performance then and waited this long for him to come back, and yeah, and Ewan coming back to play Obi-Wan. I mean, it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Do you think at some point, because I know right now the vibe is that people, if you were to pick one of the three trilogies, the sequels is the one people don't like the most. Like that's
Yeah,
the trend I'm seeing. Do you think
it's definitely the most divided. It's definitely the most divided.
Yeah. So do you think in about 20 years that'll change? Do you think it just needs time?
That's a great question. The thing about it is I don't think. I think it was a little. I think it's different in the fact that I don't remember a lot of people destroying the story of episodes 1, 2, and 3.
True.
Because the story was the fall of Anakin Skywalker, and I guess you kind of were protected in a sense because everybody knew that was going to happen. It wasn't a surprise, unless someone like young never seen this 4, 5, and 6 before, and they just dove in maybe, but that was very few people. And the knock was always kind of the CG and Jar Jar Binks and George's writing and stuff like that, like his dialogue writing, not his storytelling. I think everybody agrees George is an incredible storyteller.
Oh yeah.
But I think the sequel trilogy is getting killed because of the story. And I think that's going to be harder to recover from because the story doesn't change 20 years from now. You can always look back at a performance and maybe, have an opinion on whether or not it was good or bad and maybe got better with age. But I just don't think the story is still going to bring anybody that didn't like it over to liking it. You think so? I think that makes sense.
That does, and I completely agree with that. But I also think back to the fact that when Empire Strikes Back, when that first came out, people hated it.
That's
and
right.
Now I think it's fair to say the majority of people will say that's in their top 3, Empire Strikes Back. So I didn't know if that would be a similar pattern we would see with The Last Jedi, but I think you're right. I think the problem is the story and that it doesn't flow as well as it could. And
yes,
I think that's fair for anybody to say, but I still think we get some of the best performances in Star Wars from those movies.
I know. And for me, there are parts of it that definitely have gotten better with age,
Yes.
with the rewatches. Like honestly, The Last Jedi has gotten better for me.
Has it really?
It has a little bit. It has a little bit. I mean, I walked out of that movie very confused, and I see a lot of reasons. I see a lot of things that I know Rian Johnson was trying to do. So, like you said, it was his art, and I get kind of what he was doing. I may not agree with it, but that shouldn't make it bad, So it's just not the story that I think was the best way to tell it. In Rise of Skywalker, I was, I had such high hopes for that because I loved J.J. Abrams, but I just don't think it was. I don't think it was fully. There wasn't a lot of preparation for what they did for that movie. Right. So anyway, we can get into that when we do the commentaries for that.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think, but I think it's possible that over time that the people that like those movies will still really love those movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I think if you like those movies, you're never going to not like them. So I think they could get, and I think there could be some people that are on the fence about it that, to be honest, like could be like, honestly, I might be one of those too, that depending on how this new Jedi Order movie comes out and how we see Rey and where the state of the galaxy is at that point. I mean, there's things about that could possibly make these movies a little more relevant. I don't know,
Well, could you make an argument for? I'm asking this because I'm just curious. Could you make an argument that the Shadow of the Sith helped you like those movies more because now you go in knowing that story, knowing that
Absolutely.
setup?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I pretty much consider Shadow of the Sith episode 7.
Yes.
And then Force Awakens and The Last Jedi episode 8. And then episode 9. Because Shadow of the Sith would have been a hell of a good way to start that trilogy.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of things that would have made people go, what? Make them go, and not necessarily be like, well, that's better, but be like, okay, that makes sense.
It makes sense. Correct. Yes. Totally agree with that. Yeah, totally agree with that. So yeah, that kind of leads into a little bit of, Ewan McGregor talking about that. We did do our first commentary together last night on episode 1. We are going to be commentating each movie throughout the year, each month. So towards the end of February, we'll be recording Attack of the Clones, episode 2. And, I think I actually failed to mention that when we're doing the commentary that it is the 25th anniversary of the movie. It came out May of 1999. I was a sophomore, I think, in college. What would you say you were?
6. I was
You were
6.
6? Yes.
Kindergarten. I was in kindergarten.
See, that's why this, I feel like this works so well. We got a couple generation perspectives here. We got a female perspective and a male perspective. So it's like, and it was really good commentary. I feel like I can't wait to put it out there. It'll be out there here soon.
Yeah.
But we dove in a lot. Just to kind of prep everybody. I think what's unique about our commentaries, and I shouldn't say unique because I don't know if other people do this or not. But some of the commentaries that I watch, sometimes people get lost in watching the movies. So you're kind of watching people watch movies, and they're not really talking and commentating. So I don't want that to be our thing. I don't want to have a lot of dead space, So I've been trying to find topics that reference the movies. But, our big thing about doing these commentaries is going to be more about linking the other stories that are out there and how those stories are impacting, our rewatch of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And, we did a lot of that with episode 1 because, there has been several books that have come out around that era now with, Queen's Hope, Queen's Peril, Queen's Shadow, Brotherhood, Master and Apprentice,
Rise of the Red Blade.
Yeah. So there's definitely topics there that we can center around that kind of bring those perspectives in and how much that changes these characters and how much this changes our view of these characters and the storylines and things like that. So
yeah.
So what did you think about your first commentary with us here?
It was fun. That was just a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
didn't really know what to expect, and then all of a sudden it was over.
I know, right? It was a fast 2 hours. It was, when we had Thrawn and we had Darth S&M that joined us that are master patrons. Thrawn a little bit just because he's over on the European timeline, so it was like 4 a.m. He was getting up and checking in with us for a little bit, which was great.
Yeah.
But again, we hope you enjoyed our thoughts, and we're gonna and I said it on there. I'm really looking forward to this because I'm kind of I'm withholding myself from sitting down and watching these movies because I want some time so that
Yeah.
anyway, because I have not seen episode one, and I say I say a few months, but it's like I know I watched it a few times last year, but I didn't. It's been a while since I sat down and just watched it, because it's usually always just kind of playing in the background or something when it's on like the TNT marathons or something like that on TV. But you had said you hadn't seen it in a long time, right?
Years. I haven't seen it.
Years. Wow.
I think the most recent Star Wars movie I have seen.
Well, episode 9 probably, right?
No. Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wait. It was either Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith. I know I tried to watch Rogue One again. I tried.
That commentary is going to be fun to do.
That's going to be interesting.
Yes, that's going to be fantastic.
Someone's art. It's someone's art. It's someone's art. It's someone's art.
Yes, it is great art.
In your opinion.
Yes, and I will defend my opinion on there. How did you? So what were your? I guess just top line thoughts of seeing episode 1. I mean, does it hold up? Because it actually looked great. Still, I think even after 25 years.
I think so. I mean, I think it definitely looks better than some of the other movies we've seen come out more recently. But I just go back to once again, we're in the business, so we're very interested in how did they do X, Y, and Z, and you consider the advancements in technology. How I'm very confident in saying this. It's one of the, but I might be wrong. It's one of the first movies to ever do motion capture for an entire
Character, yeah.
And you think, and that's still on film. Like it's all of these things. They were still using practicals. Yes, they were using CGI, but they were also using practicals. And so it just kind of blows the mind of how that is still all held up comparatively. And I
Right.
think also I'm just reminded on the casting it's perfect in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, knowing where those actors are now with their careers and whatnot. I mean,
Even if not knowing that, even if not knowing like that Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor are like now huge stars, I still would have been like, yep, they're perfect.
yeah, true.
They might not have done anything else acting wise, but they're perfect.
No, you're right. Yep. But
What about your headline?
no, I mean, I've always. It's funny because I used to hold episode 1 up pretty high on my list actually when it was, just the 6 movies. It was probably in my. I mean, it was probably like 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
I really liked it. I love the fact about Darth Maul and Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson. Their dynamic between them two has always been a joy to watch. And then, like you said, Natalie Portman is just a home run. She's fantastic. So, yeah, I think it's it's pretty good. But unfortunately, it's not that it's gone down too far in my list. But but it's funny because you throw in like. You got to throw in Rogue One now and Solo in there, even though it's not part of the Skywalker saga. But but that kind of pushes it down because I put both of those movies above this. So, but it's enjoyable to watch. I mean, I think every once in a while I love popping it in, and again, like there's and we say it in the commentaries. There's a couple scenes in there that are just really my favorite. Some of my favorite scenes in Star Wars, and that's really cool to go back and see that again when we watched it last night.
And you can't deny Duel of the Fates. Like you can't deny
Totally.
the music, the lightsaber fight. I mean, enough
I
said.
agree. Enough said. Yes. I mean, it's so epic. It almost feels like the end of the trilogy, not just the beginning of a trilogy. So
Absolutely.
fantastic. So, all right. So yeah, check that out here soon and let us know what you think. Got some comments from our last episode here, which we talked highly about Ventress.
Yes.
And let's see, Thrawn Act says, I'm excited for the movie commentary on the 30th. There you go. Yep.
Yay.
Did that. He said, I think it will be 2:45 a.m. in London, but I think I'll be tempted to wake up and join, which you did.
You
so
did.
That's awesome. Really enjoyed Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. I'm glad it's less episodes as well. Since it's the last season and they have to wrap up everything, hope each episode matters and pushes the story forward. Yep, that's what we were just talking about. Was also happy to see Cad Bane pop up and can never hurt to put him in anything. Was shocked to see Ventress in the trailer. I felt like going back to Dark Disciple book and making sure I didn't imagine reading her death. I feel like we need a good explanation of her coming back to life because I do think death of sacrifice in Star Wars is meaning less and less because people just come back. Don't get me wrong. Love to see more Ventress as she was a great character, but her sacrifice was so powerful and it feels like it takes away from the Disciplined book a lot. We shall see. Could just be a flashback and I'm worrying for nothing. Thanks again and hopefully catch you both on the commentary. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that's actually that's a strong point that the whole idea of sacrifice is losing its value in the Star Wars universe because people keep coming back. So now, after you said that, I want it to be a flashback.
I know.
I don't want her to come back.
Yeah, I just think now here's did he say it here? Yeah, he does say this. So here's what Cyber Ren had to say. He says, OMG, Asajj, my favorite lady character in all of Star Wars. I was jumping at you guys yelling, I know the answers while listening to this. Because I just finished a second listen to Dark Disciple to figure it out, and I know how she comes back. But you'll have to tune into The Mandalore to find out once me and David get it recorded, which we're doing this weekend. So I don't know what he's talking about yet. But this is as exciting as it gets. As for The Batch, I'm still on opposite feelings as you guys. I love The Batch. They're my favorite of the animation groups. And I want more episodes, more seasons. There's so much they can do. Join the fight somewhere in the galaxy. They don't have to be part of the Skywalker battles. Just fight the Empire somewhere else. They don't have to end either. Omega has so many mysteries in her story to answer still. Does she ever meet Boba Fett? What was her purpose on being created? Who does she become? And so much more. 3 seasons isn't enough. So yeah, so apparently he has the answer to how she comes back. So
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, I kind of like Thrawn. I'm like, I remember it. I remember it being a pretty big, drawn out deal in the book. You know, I mean, they even take the body back to Dathomir, right?
They did. I mean, unless they did a body swap like they did with the twins and Padme.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm kind of with you and Thrawn on this. I'm just like, I think it just, it means more to me about her character, because that's why I kind of fell in love with her, was because of this book and the relationships that she built with Quinlan and the sacrifice. It's just makes her story so well rounded, you know, from what she, I mean, the first time we saw her, she was a Sith assassin trying to kill Jedi, you know, and it's like now all of a sudden she's in that book, she's fighting with a Jedi and she's falling in love with a Jedi. And oh man, it's just a great story. So
It really is. Oh man, okay. Well, I guess
so
I'm
I'll let
going
you know.
down
I'll
a
let you know
rabbit
what he
hole to
said.
figure out what Cyber Ren has come up with before I can listen to Mandalore.
Well, I'll tell you what he says after I do the show. That'll be I think we're recording on Sunday, so yeah. And he hasn't texted me yet, so I don't know. He hasn't said anything to me yet, so
Oh, he's going to keep it a surprise. He's going to want to wait for your reaction.
I guess. Well, he usually sends it in notes, so I'll probably be able to read it beforehand. But
He'll black it out. He'll do, you know what they do on police
yeah,
reports and just like black highlight it out.
yeah, redact it or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we'll see. All right, Cyber Ren, we'll see what you say, because that'll be interesting. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope everybody's has a great rest of the week. We will be back next week. And again, look for our episode 1 commentary dropping here soon on our YouTube channel. Could be there already. And of course, go there for more episodes of Beyond the Saga, Council Sessions, Dark Knowledge, all those things coming each week, and then back here each week. And then, of course, we're on all the podcast feeds if you can't watch us here on YouTube. And then if you're interested in helping support the show on Patreon, we're putting out some more content now weekly on there. And you can get more content just by simply going to the smallest tier or the largest tier. You got more stuff. So anyway, go check those out. Patreon.com/Inside the Force. Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week. May the Force be with you.